Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mackie and I hope you're all having a great day today. So now that 31 days of Halloween is over, I'm honestly pretty lost. I don't know what to do anymore. It felt so weird having a day off yesterday. It was crazy. But I've officially decided I am going to be doing 25 days of Christmas, so that's going to be really fun. I'm excited for that. And I have some really good ideas of places to stay overnight during that. So now the countdown starts to 25 days of Christmas. But instead of rambling on, what we're going to be doing today is reading your guys' scary stories once again. This is always so much fun for me to listen to what you guys have gone through, and it's usually really scary. I think it's fun for you guys too because you get to hear about other people's experiences for a change instead of mine all the time. And also, if you guys have a scary story, please send it to me and I will feature you in a video. I can either leave your @ or you can stay anonymous, whichever one, but I love reading them like I said. So keep on sending it because I'm going to keep making these videos maybe once or twice a month. But other than that, let's just get straight into the video. Okay, so this first story was sent to me on Instagram. They asked to be anonymous, so we're just gonna get straight into it. And she says, since I was a little girl, I was always very afraid of a room I had in my basement. It was my paternal grandfather's old room. With time, this passed. Last year, super strange things started happening to me. One day, on the eve of my first anniversary of the death of my father's best friend, which was very difficult for me, I was alone on the top floor. I felt a presence chasing me. When I tried to open the door to the balcony, it didn't open and it was locked. I started to get super scared and tried to stay calm. I said a prayer and the door opened on its own. That day, my father had to sleep with me because he was super scared. That day, I told this to a friend of mine that her mom is a medium and works with spirituality and things like that. She told me that we would have to see what was going on. The next day, we all went to my house, alone again because my parents were working and it was another normal weekend afternoon at my house. After a while, I constantly hear the entrance door seeming to close and that someone was entering, calling for my parents, and it is nobody. When I went to the door with two friends who were about to go to the supermarket, I looked at a room next to the door and saw someone dressed in white laying down. I panicked and told my friends right away. We walked around the house saying certain phrases, she feels the presence. And we realized that there were lots of spirits in my house. Then things got worse. My kitchen door closed on its own and I felt someone breathing on top of me. I started having a panic attack and the noises didn't stop. We went to my friend's space where we were starting to explain everything that had happened. Suddenly, a friend and I started to cry compulsively without reason. She said things, which I don't remember. As I don't want to hurt you, she screamed. She tried to scratch me with hands and feet. My friend's mother took 2 hours to clean us, to clean my house. To clean equals removing spirits from the house. And to put on the protection. It never happened again until September this year. My only living grandma, who took care of me and was the most important person to me, died on the 16th of September. Oh, I'm so sorry. I went super low. My depression and anxiety got worse because I was already the third person in 2 years to pass away. As the days went by, I noticed noises again, but I stayed calm and thought it was the neighbors, but no. I have 2 dogs and one of them, 4 months old, sleeps with me and constantly snarling and barking at nothing, especially at night, always for the same place, and it has only gotten worse. I always have the same nightmares. I almost got hit in the last few weeks multiple times. I constantly feel presence in my house and sudden temperature changes when I say that bad energies, bad spirits that disturb my animals are not allowed with my family. I'm super scared. I'm 16 and my parents don't believe in these things. My friend's mother is super sick with cancer. I don't want to disturb her. Fortunately, your videos and Kelsey's can calm me down. I thought you would like my story. Well, I'm glad that our videos calm you down, but that is like crazy stuff that's happening. As long as you're not scared, they can't really do anything to you, so just try to remain calm. That's the best advice I can give. Thank you so much for sending in your story, and I hope things get better. Just DM me if you need any help with anything. Okay, this next story comes from Holly. So Holly says, "Hi, my name is Holly and I really want to tell you my ghost story that happened to me. So when I was little, I think I was 6 or 7. Anyway, my dad got me a new bed from a random guy in town. I was so happy to get a new bed. I put it up against my wall and that night I did not sleep well in it. I felt things touching me. I felt heads of spiders running across my legs, even though there was no spiders. Anyway, that night I woke at 3 a.m. It's hard to remember, but I do remember seeing a tall man at the end of my bed. He wore a black suit, a top hat, and a briefcase. And he was so nice. I would talk to him every night. A month later, because my mom can see ghosts really well, I told her everything about it. She told me not to talk to him and to sleep with her for a while. I was a bit sad about it. That night, my dad slept in my bed, and when he woke up, his arm was in between the wall and my bed, and he felt like someone was pulling it down. He said he heard someone whisper, "Bring her back, I won't hurt her." Oh my god, that's so scary. So that night I came back and my mom told me this, but she said she was checking in on me at about 12 a.m. and I was sitting on the end of my bed talking to thin air. She was so freaked out that she went to the kitchen to get some water and food for her when she felt like someone was standing beside her. So she said, "Go away, you are not allowed to be here, and don't ever talk to my daughter or anyone I love again." And in the morning I ran out to my mom crying and saying, "The man is leaving." Then my dad sold the bed, but there is only one thing I remember that he told me. He said that his name was Bob, and now I'm 12, and ever since that man, I have an imaginary friend named Bob. So it sounds like something was attached to that bed for some reason. I've never heard of anything attaching to a bed like that, but then again, I have a doll that a man spirit is attached to, so who am I to judge? That's absolutely insane. I mean, it sounded like a shadow man to me at first, but since he sounded friendly or she liked him, I don't really know, but that is really creepy. Okay, so the next story comes from someone named Charlie, and she says, "Hey Mackie, I just came from your YouTube channel and I saw that you were reading people's horror stories, so I thought I would share mine. I used to live in a very haunted house. It was an old farmhouse, I'd say around the 1900s. When we moved in, I immediately got a strange vibe, but I shrugged it off. One night, I was sleeping peacefully. It was around 3:20 a.m. I woke up to this huge bang in my brother's room. I go in and ask what happened, and he replies, "I don't know." So I just told him to go back to sleep. The next night, I wake up to him screaming at the top of his lungs around the same time as the night before. I bolt in and ask what's wrong. He goes, "Something was grabbing my feet. I could see him." I said, "Who's him?" He said, "That boy." I immediately got the shivers and ran in to wake my mom. After those incidents, things just went downhill. With little things from footsteps up our hallway, bangs on the walls, voices and knocking on doors to bigger things, like being touched, scratched, or grabbed. I was sitting in the lounge one time, and I was just staring into the kitchen. And I see this big black figure walk from our kitchen to our laundry, and I freak out and run to my mom. My mom said that my dad had seen the same thing. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I was home alone. I wake up and as I walk down the hallway, I see standing at the end of it a big black figure. Just standing there looking at me. I freeze. It walks closer and closer. I scream and tell it to get out. And as it's about to touch me, it vanishes. I was so scared and we have never gone back to that house since. Okay, that one is actually like legitimately scary because it sounds like the D word. It doesn't sound like a very friendly spirit, especially if they're being touched and grabbed. Okay, I would definitely leave that house too. I know that I have like something in my house, but it's not that bad, I don't think. These stories literally like freak me out so much. But thank you so much for sending in that story. So the next one I have here, it's from someone named Steven, and this is more of a location that he went to in the backstory about it. It sounds really creepy though, and I would love to go to this place one day, but I don't even know where it is, but it sounds really creepy. Hi Mackie, I have a creepy location story for you to tell. About 35 miles from the city I'm from, there's a little town. About 3 miles from the little town, there's an abandoned farm located in the middle of a field. It consists of a farmhouse, a barn, another old building, a gazebo, and the family cemetery. None of these things are visible from the gravel road surrounding the field. Everything is located in a big grove of trees. The roads into this abandoned farm no longer exist, so I had to walk about half a mile across the plowed field to get to this place. I used to have a ghost hunting group and was looking for locations when I heard the story of a farm. I found out who owned all of the farmland around it and got permission to go out to the farm and explore it. My father, as well as the current landowner, had heard many stories about the strange family who lived in the abandoned farmhouse. Apparently they lived there until the 1970s. The family was made up of a mother, a father, and a couple of boys and the grandparents. The people of the small town near the farm were supposedly scared and leery of the family. The boys, who were teenagers, had long, dark, greasy hair and wore long, black, duster-style coats. And there were a couple of smaller children, too. People avoided them whenever they went into the small town. The family had 3 ways in and out of the farm. Supposedly, they had many ways out if a situation arose. The family was known for sitting out at the front of their house with guns all the time. There was an old circus bus in the farmyard, as well as a couple of old Model T cars. Walking around the farmyard and exploring it in the daylight, I always had the feeling I was being watched, even though the farm had been abandoned for roughly 30 years at the time. The family cemetery was the creepiest part. The cemetery itself was probably as big as an average house and was completely surrounded by a wrought iron fence. Most of the fence was leaning over to the point where it looked like it was going to fall over at any minute, but the gates still stood. It was obvious before you even entered the cemetery that most of the graves had collapsed. The guy that owns the land now said that the family always used wood coffins. And when they rot away, the top cave in the ground sinks a foot to 2 feet. There were no headstones, and I recall about 8 graves that were sunken. Next part my father told me about, and he said it was on the local news. The younger kids that went to a school at the small town elementary school took a couple days off because they said their grandma had died. After a few days, they came back to school. Over the next couple of weeks, it was brought to the teacher's attention that the 2 younger kids were telling stories about their grandma and saying they were talking to her. The teacher thought it was funny that the kids were talking to grandma because grandma had died a couple weeks earlier. So they basically thought that these kids were like pranking the other kids in the school, and they thought it was funny. Because of the strangeness of the story and the way the kids were acting, sheriff deputies were sent out to talk to the parents. When the sheriff deputies got to the house, they found out that the kids really were talking to grandma because the grandma hadn't been buried yet and was still in the bedroom. After talking with the family, the deputies found out another strange thing about the family's activities. It turned out that either the grandfather or the father had accidentally been killed arguing with one of the older sons, and they put his body in with the pigs and let the pigs eat him. The current landowner said the family moved out of state, and he had heard that the 2 older boys ended up in prison for some reason. And I found out the name of the family was spelled wrong whenever people talk about them. I found a box of canceled checks at the farm with the correct spelling of the family name. The following year, I went to go back out and spend more time at this house. I tried to contact the landowner again. Sadly, his wife answered the phone and said her husband had died just a few months earlier and she had sold the land. It was a really creepy location during the day, and I would have loved to have been out there at night looking around. Some of the things I experienced were a cold hand grabbing my arm, fingers rubbing my face, and being pushed from behind. That is insane. I want to go to that farm and walk around, but from the sounds of it, it's not gonna happen. But that is the weirdest, eeriest story I think I've ever heard about the pigs and everything. The body was still there. It's just, oh my god, that's so wrong. I just can't. Okay, so I think that's all the stories we're gonna get to today, but like I said before, continue sending in your stories if you want to be featured in a video, and make sure you let me know if you want to be anonymous or if you want me to leave your @ just so I know, and I don't want to out anyone accidentally. So yeah, make sure you leave that when you message me. So the ways you can send in your story: you can DM it on Instagram, or you can send it to my email, which is right down here in the description. It's mackiealbertson21@gmail.com. So you can send all your stories there. I think we should close out today's video by talking to Samantha for like a minute, just to see how, Sam, I'm sorry, Sam. I keep saying Samantha, it's hard to remember, but let's just ask Sam a couple questions and then we'll close it out. I only want to talk to Sam. I don't want to talk to anyone else besides Sam. Sam, are you here?
What?
You said hi, yes. Hey, Sam. There, he said hello. I think we might go see Lola tonight, so I'm gonna ask him if he's excited to see Lola. Hi. Sam, are you excited to go see Lola tonight? Yes. Yeah. What about Benny? Do you like Benny? Not the dog, the other spirit.
Yep.
Yup, he does. Sam, I have a question for you. Do you like me? Sam, Sam, do you protect me? Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later, Sam, okay? Alright, bye. Okay, so I just wanted to check in with him and do a little update if he likes me now, because when he first arrived, he was kind of iffy on it. I think he likes me now, so that's good. And I hope you did enjoy this video. Make sure you send in all your scary stories. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my new videos. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.